Welcome to the Hyper Growth Zone podcast. This is your go-to resource for personal growth, mastering communication, and influencing and persuasion techniques that will help you unleash the full potential of yourself and others. Here is your host, Alex Morgan.
Welcome to another episode of the Hyper Growth Zone podcast. My name is Alex Morgan, and I'm a master trainer of hypnosis and NLP. And on this episode, we're going to talk about how to really find your inner self. And I think this is important because I'm sure there's a time when you've looked outside of yourself and you've looked for answers there. You've asked other people for feedback, or a lot of people. Has it ever happened to you that you rely on someone else to tell you if you've done a good job or not? What if you were able to see all of this for yourself? What if you were able to connect with your inner self whenever it is you want? What if there were many ways that you could do this instead of just one? And one of the ways to think about this is, there's a famous quote. I think it goes something like, there's two really important days for you, the day you were born and the day you found out why. And that can mean different things for different people. Maybe for someone, the day they found out why is what they really wanted to do with their life. Maybe the day they found out why is the day that they really started to meet their inner self. So maybe there's a moment that you can already see, hear, and grasp onto, and really feel that moment that you found your inner self. Or maybe there's a day where you can't really recall that at all, and you're wondering, well, how can I do something like that? And not only how can you do something like that, how can you do something like that really easily and effortlessly for you so that you can automatically and naturally do that in the future whenever you want? Because why would you want to leave success up to chance? Because one of the easiest ways to achieve success, I think, is to find your inner self, because this means you'd actually be aligned with every single thing in your mind. Because I'm sure if you're listening, you understand that you get what you focus on 100% of the time, and your mind is way smarter than you think. So if your mind is way smarter than you think, so why not connect with it? Because that's all part of connecting to your inner self, really finding your inner self. So the first way to do that, which I talked extensively about in the last episode actually, is to reflect on your core values, align with your core values, because understanding your values is really key to discovering your true self. Core values are what's important to you. If you want more information on that, listen to the last episode. I'm just going to go over this really quickly. However, when you reflect on your core values, it allows you to ask certain questions so you can connect with your inner self. And these values are for you, and these values are for you right now. Of course, your values can change. However, you can ask some of these questions to really connect with your inner self through your core values. You can say, what truly matters to you? And that could be in a particular area of life or just generally. When do you feel that you're most aligned with yourself? And what qualities do you really admire in yourself? And this allows you to easily and effortlessly connect with your inner self through your values. So if you're able to know what truly matters to you, that means you're going to know what's important to you. And guess what? That means you're going to be motivated to achieve those things. So write down the values that resonate with you most, or write down the answers that resonate with you most. And these could be anything like honesty, creativity, compassion, abundance, freedom, money, love, whatever it is. And then reflect on these and see if you truly align with those. So that's one way that you connect with your inner self. Is, of course, you can go over your values, and if you want more information on that, listen to the last episode. So another way to connect with your inner self is you need to explore your passions and your interests. How much time do you actually spend doing things that are really exciting for you, or doing things that make you really, really curious? Because curious and excitement, they're going to keep you going all the time. There's been studies recently that show that happiness can actually lead to some boredom because you're just so happy that you're almost so satisfied that you get a bit bored. So if you're always curious and you're always excited, this is a way for you to explore your interests and your passions. So it's good to do things that are really interesting and exciting to you, so you're curious all the time. Your inner self is often revealed. You can reveal yourself many times through doing something that is exciting and something that is energizing for you. So take time throughout each day to really notice the activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. So what are those for you? For me personally, I know what those are for me. However, I'll list some that I like to do so you can see if you resonate with any of these. One of the things, though, that's really exciting to me is learning. I get so excited when I learn. Learning really energizes me. It's just really exciting to me. Anything that I learn, I'm just excited about it. So I spend time every day usually reading something, writing something, listening to something, or speaking to someone that I can learn many things from. Or when I'm in conversations or I hear things, I'm always curious about, well, how would I respond? How would I communicate so I can get what that person wants? How can I deliver a communication to get what that person wants? So it allows me to also discover things about other people. So learning to me is really exciting. So you can ask yourself these questions. What activities make you lose track of time? I'm sure there's something that you love to do so much where you just lose track of time. Or if money were no object, money didn't matter at all, what would you do? What would be so exciting that you would do it even if you made no money? Maybe the thing is once you start doing that, you'll find a way anyway how to make money doing it. And maybe that's all about the day you found out why. Or what makes you feel really alive and inspired. So where do you get inspiration from? Are you ever doing something and you're just so inspired, you're totally inspired? So if you can find a way to incorporate more of these activities into your daily life, even if it's in a really small way, guess what? You may lose track of time. You may find ways to just make more money because you're so excited to share what you're doing with other people. That's the thing. Once you have a passion, once you have an interest and you're always curious, you're going to be curious what other people think of it. And maybe when you tell other people about it, or they start asking you questions about it just because they're curious about what you're working on, because you're naturally going to find other curious people when you're really curious. Maybe you start making lots of money doing this thing or these things, whatever they are for you. So if you can really become aware of and pay attention and focus on different things and how you feel as you're doing them, I'm sure you'll find yourself being really fulfilled, and this will help you find your inner self. So what's that thing inside of you that just gets so excited when you do that thing? And maybe that's who you truly are. That's up to you, though. I'm not going to tell you exactly what that is for you. That's up to you. So the other thing that you can do is you can spend some time alone. This allows you to listen to your inner voice without having any distractions from others. Now, this is something that I always suggest to people when I do hypnosis with them. I always say with them with hypnosis because hypnosis is a do-with process. It's not something I can do to you. It's something that we do together. It's a do-with process. So when you listen to that inner voice, you spend time alone. It helps you deepen your understanding of who you are, and you're not necessarily influenced by anything externally. So what I tell people when they do hypnosis with me is they decided to set this time aside for themselves today. And these suggestions are not coming from me. They're actually coming from that other person. So I say these suggestions are not coming from me. They're coming from you. Because if you think about it, if someone comes to me and they ask me to do hypnosis with them, I'm going to ask them a bunch of questions. And they're essentially spending this time alone. They're just using my voice as a guide. they're connecting to the resources that they already have inside of them. So this is a way for them to connect with their inner self. Hypnosis. However, since I talk about hypnosis a lot, I didn't want to mention it as one thing on this episode. However, when you spend time alone, and I suggest that they set aside time for themselves today, they're telling me essentially what they want to hear during the hypnosis session. And if they're telling me what they want to hear, I'm going to deliver suggestions in the spirit that they're meant to be given so that they can benefit from it. So spend time alone and listen to your inner voice. Listen to what it's saying. Give yourself suggestions that are going to empower you. So you can really begin this by dedicating some time alone every single day. This could be outside, walking around, and just thinking about all the wonderful things that you want to think about. It could be traveling alone, or you can just take some quiet moments at home, whatever is easiest for you. You can use this time to connect with your inner self. You can use this time to connect with your unconscious mind. You can use it to connect with the other things that I already mentioned, your values. You can use this time to motivate yourself. You can use this time to think about your passions and your interests. So if you spend time alone, you can also ask your unconscious mind questions. Things like, how can I easily and effortlessly achieve my goals? How can I spend time every day to connect with my passion? What are my values? This is all things that you can do when you spend time alone. It's a really good opportunity to build rapport with your inner self, just like you would build rapport with another person. I'm sure you've met someone before, and all of a sudden you meet them, and you talk to them for a few minutes, and they say something like, wow, it feels like I've known you my whole life, or it feels like I've known you forever. So what if you spent time alone getting to know yourself for who you really are, for your desires, your values, your passions, your interests, your sense of purpose, the things that actually matter to you without having any external influence or expectations. So that's what you can do when you spend time alone. Another way to connect to your inner self and really get to know your inner self and spend time thinking about what your inner self would do, you can really listen to your intuition. Your intuition is often a reflection of your inner beliefs, your values, your passions, your interests. It's a reflection of your inner self because all of these unconscious preferences that you have, even your memories, how things happen, you're going to remember it different from another person because of your programs in your mind. So all of those things, all those unconscious things that you have going on in your mind are going to lead towards conscious decisions. You really evaluate the decision with all the unconscious filters that you have, your memories, your beliefs, your values, all those different things. And then that's going to guide you towards a conscious decision that should align with your true desires and values. So you can use your intuition to connect to your inner self. So there's a few ways that you can really tune into this that make it really easy to connect to your inner self and your intuition. Maybe even think that you can use these interchangeably. That's up to you. However, you can really pay attention to that gut feeling that you have or those instincts that you have. And that's why I say it's really important to connect and build rapport with the unconscious mind, because essentially that's where your intuition is. And I mentioned the word instincts. It maintains your instincts as well. It maintains your emotions. Your unconscious mind does so many wonderful things for you. However, you need to pay attention to these things because they can be subtle. And oftentimes they arise when you're faced with choices. So next time you're faced with a choice, you can practice listening to your intuition and thinking, what's that feeling that I have? What should I really, really do? And unconsciously notice that feeling. Notice if you're making the right decision. And if it feels right, then consciously make that right decision. And then you can always evaluate your results afterwards. So you can practice trusting your intuition by acting on it in small ways, by implementing it with small decisions, and then observing the results. I'm not saying that if you don't really listen to your intuition now, use it to make the biggest decision that you've ever made. Do it on something small and then scale up from there, just like you would do with anything else. Usually you start off with taking smaller risks. However, as you know, if you listen to this channel, you may find that as you take small risks, guess what? You're achieving huge rewards because you're in the hyper growth zone. So if you spend time connecting with your intuition, then you're definitely connecting with your inner self. And another way is you can practice gratitude and self-compassion. If you're grateful for the things that you have, the experiences that you have, even if that experience was wonderful, and even if it was not so wonderful, this really helps you connect to your inner self and the journey that you're going on right now in your reality. And if you have self-compassion, this allows you to accept yourself as you are. Even if you see yourself as someone who is not perfect, maybe you have some imperfections that you want to work on. However, accepting yourself as you are, that's really important. So just think about that through the coming seconds, minutes, days, hours, weeks, years. Think about all the times that you were hard on yourself, that you judged yourself. And what did that get for you? What did that allow you to do? Maybe it didn't allow you to do much. Maybe it did allow you to make some progress. Who knows? But I'm sure you can make even more progress, because think about all the times that you just accepted someone for who they were, or you accepted yourself for who you are. And you allowed yourself just to be, just to work on who you are as a person. I'm sure that felt even better, didn't it? So imagine if you could do that for the next days and weeks and years, months, whatever it is. If you could focus on treating yourself in a kind way, especially if you're going through something that's not so easy for you. If you could let go of the need to really just do things a certain way all the time and be flexible in your behavior and just accept yourself for who you are in each moment, I'm sure this will allow you to connect to your inner self and allow you to just feel that much better. So really, self-compassion, it's an easy thing that you can practice. Just accept yourself each day and be grateful for who you are each day. This will allow you to focus on your internal growth. And that's the last thing I'm going to go over today, is one other way to connect to your inner self is just connect to growing. Be someone who's willing to see new choices, see new opportunities, see possibilities. You're someone who's willing to grow. You're someone who's willing to create change. I'm sure you are if you're listening to this. Your inner self, it's not something that stays the same. Your inner self is constantly going to be changing and growing, just as you do. And I'm sure you're open to growth and change, because self-discovery is something that's always going to be ongoing. It's something that's continuing right now as you're listening. Maybe the fact that you listened to this, you started thinking how you can implement some new things. And when you implement those new things, different things start to happen. And then it's up to you to decide if you may find that these things are the right thing to do. And I'm sure, though, you can follow your intuition, because that means that you're embracing growth. You're embracing change. And the more you embrace growth and change, that means you can also reevaluate your beliefs, your desires, and your values regularly. And this will also allow you to evolve and become more interested in certain things and even more curious about growth. Instead of thinking about the past version of yourself, you're always going to be thinking about the person you are now and the person that you want to become. And I'm sure you'll start to design and accept that your inner self is going to grow each and every day, because that's what you deserve. And I'm sure that you're wondering how much you actually deserve. And I think you already know, because you're listening to me as you're doing whatever it is that you're doing, and you're finding your inner self all the time, because this is a lifelong journey of self-awareness, reflection, growth, trusting your intuition, following those passions, those interests, always being curious, being excited more and more. And it also means that you have a patience and you have a willingness to experiment with everything that you are, and you're going to accept everything that you are. And even though you're accepting it, doesn't mean that you don't want to change it. You can accept exactly what happens, and that can lead you to changing something right away when you didn't think that you really wanted to, or maybe you didn't even think that you needed to. So if you tune into your values, your passions, that inner self, then you're going to be existing in a reality that you create and you design. You may find that you are now in your ideal future, and you're creating that along with predictable results because you're thinking of the best version of yourself all the time. So thanks so much for listening. I hope this allowed you to really connect with your inner self. Go ahead and share the podcast with someone who you think will benefit. Wherever you are listening, go ahead and rate the podcast. This helps it get in the minds of many other listeners. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you on the next episode.